Boom. Hi. It's me. Let's get intimate and share some poetry. I'm Thundercloud, you know. Mum calls me James. I like fun and poetic linguistic games. I'm here in the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. And it's Chillin Tuesday. Yeah, let's get playing. Well, what am I doing tonight on this 5th of September 2023? Well, I'm going to do some Thomas Shapcott poetry. I might also do a little bit of me. Why not? Well, oh look at this. Cup of tea. Also rhymes with poetry, and there's a couple of dolphins there. You see? All right. Thomas Shapcott. I'm not going to start with him. I'm going to start with the dolphins. Why not, hey? This is from my book, Janbung's Peaceful Protest in Nimbin. You can get it online at Amazon. You can also find the link on my website, thundercloudrepairing.com. It's there somewhere. But get it from Amazon or come here and buy it directly from me. So I've marked it out here, the one I'm going to do for you. Stop seeing this ad. No. The Man and the Dolphin. Here we go. We get my dolphins. I found him in the morning, sitting on the beach. He said, "Enjoy the morning and the sunrise, out of reach." After that he sat there and didn't say a word. The sun came up, the waves watched down, and watched a flying bird. Sands go through the hourglass. You can't hold water in your hand. He lived inside the moment and he sat upon the sand. The dark night sky was leaving the horizon, red then yellow. A spark of light appeared, the sun rose and then said, "Hello." The air was warming up, he went in for a swim. The water was warmer than the air, invigorating him. He dived beneath the waves, swam with a school of fish. A dolphin swam beside him. He got his lifelong wish. He had a cup of tea. That dolphin was swimming free. And all that he could hear as that dolphin swam around was the sound of crashing waves and a squeaky dolphin sound. He listened to the dolphin, and this is what it said: "Enjoy the now, create the life of joy you want instead of worrying about the future or living in the past. Enjoy each present moment and make the good ones last." He swam back to the shore and sat upon the sand. He lived inside the moment and his life was grand. He told them about the dolphin and what the dolphin said. The past, the future are out of reach. He heard it in his head. He sat inside the moment, built a sandcastle on the beach. The past, the future and the sun are all there out of reach. A wave washed up the beach and washed his sandcastle down. He laughed and built another one and never wore a frown. Lived inside the moment and he sat upon the sand. In every present moment he was the happy man. Okay, so there you go. That's out of my book, Janbung's Peaceful Protest in Nimbin. That's spelled D-G-A-N-B-U-N-G. Yes, apostrophe S. Janbung. That's a Bundjalung word for platypus. Rightio. So, Thomas Shapcott. Who is this amazing man, Thomas Shapcott? Well, he's 88 at the moment. He was born on the 21st of March 1935 in Ipswich, Queensland. He's got a whole heap of awards, and has held some very prestigious literary positions. He's a poet, novelist, a playwright, an editor, a librettist, a short story writer, and a teacher. So I'm just going to read to you now. There's also the Queensland Poetry Prize, the Thomas Shapcott Prize. It's in its 21st year, and it's for an unpublished poetry manuscript with a total prize money of $2,000 and a publishing contract. So there you go. Now, where am I going to read this? I'll read it out of the Australian Literature biography. He grew up in a Scottish family and a family of Scottish and Cornish descent, a twin and one of 4 brothers. He writes left-handed, his brother writes right-handed, his twin. He attended several state schools, then Ipswich Grammar School. At the age of 13, he discovered classical music, which became his refuge from the very constricted suburban world of a petty bourgeois family in a small town. After 6 months at business college, he joined his father's accountancy firm in 1951, as there were a few other jobs available during an economic slump. He had wanted to become a journalist. 3 months of national service in 1954 had a profound impact, as he discovered a sense of community with a diverse group of men and began to write poetry seriously for the first time. His first published poem appeared in the Sydney Bulletin in 1956. He visited Sydney in 1958 to make contact with other writers. Back in Brisbane, Shapcott continued his education at the University of Queensland, completing a degree in accounting in 1961 and a degree in arts in 1967. His poetry in the late 60s won several prizes, and his collaboration with the composer Colin Brumby began with the setting of Gilgamesh to music in 1968. He's since collaborated with Alan John, Bruce Mills, David Watson and others. He established his accounting firm in 1971, specialising in taxation for writers, artists and academics. In 1971, he was awarded a Churchill Fellowship visit to America. This gave him the perspective on his past to write his much admired Shabbytown calendar 1975 and produce the landmark anthology Contemporary American and Australian Poetry 1976. In 1973, he was appointed to the newly constituted Literature Board of Australia Council by the Whitlam government and served as a director from 1983 to 1990. In 1975, he sold his accounting practice and was awarded a 3-year fellowship from the Literature Board. In 1978, he became a full-time writer, receiving a number of literary grants and fellowships to continue his writing. He was the executive director of the National Book Council from 1991 to 1997. In 1997, he became inaugural professor of creative writing at the University of Adelaide, retiring in 2005. He played a prominent part in the rise of the new Australian poetry during the 60s. He continues to be an influential critic in the field of contemporary Australian poetry and a generous mentor of younger writers. Throughout his prolific career, he has produced novels, poetry, short stories, libretti, dramas and reviews. His plays include A Game Around the Globe, a poem for opera, Ishtar's Mirror, Motel Territory, a sequence of 3 one-act plays, Motel Room, a play in 1 act, Public Bar, a play in 1 act, and many more. There was also a dance piece, Dang Hyang Kapulugang, the Dance of an Old Tiger, Shapcott's poetry demonstrates an abiding interest in experimental possibilities of language and is frequently autobiographical in theme, drawing its strands from history and mythology. He has won many prestigious awards for his poetry and prose. In 1989, awarded an honorary Doctorate of Literature from Macquarie University and honoured with the Order of Australia for his services to literature. In 2009, he was awarded a Doctor of Letters honoris causa from the University of Queensland. So yeah, I'm not going to go through all his works because what I've got here is a selection of Thomas Shapcott books that I've come across and bought. Some of them have been donated by a wonderful poetry lecturer, Jeff Doyle from Canberra, who's moved up this way too. So I'm very lucky to have those. Okay, let's get on to Thomas Shapcott's. Right, the first one I've got for you tonight is from Time on Fire. This was published by Jacaranda Press in 1961, I'm pretty sure. Yep, first printed 1961. I was right there. And so it's some of his very early stuff because he did start writing in 1958. So the first one I'm going to read is autobiographical, I'm guessing, and it's called Late Winter in Queensland, and this book was published by Jacaranda Press. There's no copyright breaches intended in reading these because it's purely for educational purposes, which is why I'm only reading one or two poems from each book. Late winter Queensland. The colour of time is sky and mountains and the pause. After sunset in these clear August days, because the river I know, brown, lies to me, silent, willow, slims of bluing lights and bends of morning shadows. I would think to lizard, lazily this one, planned long time as being loth to call a brighter sun into its now declared tranquillities and seek a lulling confirmation of year's parakeet, stilled first, full stop in trees. What show me blue is paused within their shadows, but I know all well what caused the stream to blue, the shade to hope for time was that desire for memory that time only begat. The next one is called Time on Fire. Choked by the fire in the years I make self into this page to placate my time-veined fears which recognize and await the rage and furnace of that blaze no break nor barricade can halt. The past leers gaunt as sapless trees which take the white-boned airs of death on the vast burnt paddocks where these fires have gorged. Ah, those charred timbers which now haunt me, I had loved as moist trees, edged with fine grained sun haze, and bright and flint with youth. I flee towards the green unscavenged hill country, in a rush of fear, but know the quenchless line of fire already in my flesh. Know that time breathes a heat no pride can penetrate. Yeah, nice, lovely. Time breathes a heat no pride can penetrate. Pardon me. All right, Thomas Shapcott. Thomas W. Shapcott. Here we are, another one from Jacaranda Press. This one's interesting because it's got this ticket in the front here. It says, Commonwealth Literary Fund, Prime Minister's Department, Canberra, 9th of November 1964. It's hand typed. It's on a piece of bond letterhead though. For your retention, you will recall that the committee of the fund at its meeting on 14th of May 1964 agreed to a maximum guaranteed against the loss of £221 being made available to assist publication of this volume of verse. The Honourable H.S. Robertson, MP, Minister for Social Services, Parliament House, Canberra. So there you go. The Prime Minister's Literary Fund, Prime Minister's Department, Canberra. There you go. So that's interesting. Piece of history inside this book, and that's why it's really, really important to have the Australian Poetry Library and Archive here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, because it means that little archival books like this, that one day there might not be too many of them left, will be preserved here for all people to enjoy and you to listen to right now. Wow, yes, you can. All right, here we go. This is The Mankind Thing. That's the name of the book, again published by Jacaranda Press, and it was published, so by the same order, Time on Fire, which was the one before this, and this was his second one. This was first published in 1964. And Jacaranda Press, they were from 73 Elizabeth Street, Brisbane, Queensland. Okay, and it acknowledges in the front that two Australian letters, the Australian Book Review, Bulletin, Mianjin, The Maker, Quadrant, Southerly and Westerly for poems originally published by them, and to Poetry in Australia, Verse in Australia, and Australian Poetry for republishing verse, and also the ABC for poems broadcast. The 12 bagatelles were published in booklet form by Australian Letters with accompanying paintings by Robert Juniper, number 6, in their Poets and Artists booklets. It's always interesting to read funny little things like that in books. This one's called In the Forest. Wait for the sound of the axe in the forest. The birds wait, the lizards pause and wait. The creatures that are nearest earth feel the approaching pace, measure a man, and they must wait. Then the time has come. The dark of forest is so solid that its intergrowth should never break. But has the time come? The birds are nervous. See them flinch and turn. The snake moves into the reeds. Quickly, danger. The signs warn. That slap of an axe. That, there, quick, over there. The tree is tensed. Its green height. The possums clutch their young. They flee. Crack again. Crack of slow man's weapon. Intolerable wait for the one tree's sake, for its grasping fall and its death to happen, and the gash in the forest and light to break. Now, says the axe, and the tree's fallen, the spider crushed in its secret nest. The late, slow lives have been taken. In the sheltering tree, they have been crushed. The accepted world is quickly broken. The skull of the forest is opened up. Now means the axe, but the birds have forgotten. There are other trees. They prepare for sleep. Ooh, that's a powerful poem, that one. Very good. All right, let's turn the page, and we've got one more out of this book here. This one's actually called Tree in the City. We're on a bit of a tree theme. The book's called The Mankind Thing. Tree in the City. In the city, branches a small span, but still boys break it in brittle parts before school, reaching above asphalt. Or they climb up as a convenient excuse to pretend adventure in the old limbs. And they right their knees with necessary scratches, and their torn shirts feel the foreign soot in corroded bark. The council has the power to trample on it with a girl's finger lightly at a typewriter. Or it may even now be withering in secret, quietly. Or the rough-chinned youths might fall upon it tonight, in the hours after no school remembered, because of the feel of a blade in their good hands, or something about it being there, living, and them to accomplish nothing. But today, it is fact, in a green accent, it is a live tree in this city, with its exuberance of new leaves for all children to tear at and to fondle, to learn the feel of moistness still on them, to tell the truest way of year from it is a place to eat their lunches under, in shade, and greedily. All right, wonderful. Thomas Shapcott, the next one is Inwards to the Sun. Now this one is the beginning of his early in his poetry journey with the University of Queensland Press, and this one was published in 1969. Now I was going to read the poem for Captain Logan, but I have decided against that because it's very, very, very long. And so I thought I'd do this one, Flying Fox, which is a very quintessential sort of Queensland poem. Flying Fox. She tosses and rumples alone on the double bed when, damn him, when will his car cringe in through their gate and clatter over the one loose stone to announce his coming? Her life has become a code, a sound of mesh of reinsurances and locks. She wills herself still and tight, no use. Each minute drums with the wrong silence, the wrong noise, on the rigid tendons of her own unease. And still she waits, as tensely she listens and hears. In the rank growing neighbour pawpaw tree outside, a marauding flying fox circle and flap and cling, scooping the right air, gripping with clawed wings at its easy quarry, the fleshy, neglected fruit, and tear through its shallow skin and feast on it. Okay, the next one I'm going to read, is Turning Full Circle because it's more a novella than poetry. But Turning Full Circle by Thomas Shapcott was published in, I've got to find that. Published by New Poetry in the year, don't know, really? How fun is that? Don't know. It's not even written in there, so there you go, I can't even tell you that. Right, welcome. And Poems by Thomas Shapcott. This one here was published in 1983 by the University of Queensland Press. This is rather interesting, and it's it's in a section in the book called In the System, a series of kind of political ones, two actually, which I might do both. I was going to just do the Joyner Act, a Queensland text, but I think I might do the other one, and the number 1 and number 2 of In the System. And it's about the time of Joh Bjelke-Petersen, who was a rather conservative Premier of Queensland. And didn't like anyone who was against development, but he also didn't like, he introduced a bit of censorship. And that's the Joyner Act of Queensland text, the second one I'll be reading. And the first one quotes Joh Bjelke-Petersen in its title, these subversives, these friends of the dirt, don't you worry about that. No, that's my ad. No, don't you worry about that. These subversives, these friends of the dirt, Joh Bjelke-Petersen. The enemies of the dirt might dabble in real estate with a nod to the local council, but they'd swallow a rainforest before breakfast and are planning to skillet the barrier reef. That is, after the hard work of quarrying has been dealt with in the telex room. The enemies of the dirt pride themselves on their cracked, hard work nails, their vivid necks bulge above regulation collars. They know all the hardships of, was it really 40 years back? They do know what bludgers are, the enemies of the dirt, know too well the dirt they grew from before the subdivision. From high windows there is $1 million view of the nearly new freeway that blots out the riverbank. All those mangroves necks creep at the thought of mozzies. The big floods might still rise to tackle this denuded topsoil, and good luck to the friends of the dirt who are under each arch looking for chinks with soiled khaki shoulder bags crammed with seeds, growth. In this climate, green shoots can split the rock, someone said. No, someone wrote that. Language, another subversive. If it moves, shoot. If it doesn't, chop. Up so high, the enemies of the dirt have an affinity for axes. They sense the vulnerability of towers. They have a sudden instinct for protected species. Very good. And the Joyner Act, a Queensland text. It is here, don't you worry about this, all right. It is hereby declared under the Joyner Act that possession of any book, artefact or item of printing contrary to revealed truth constitutes an infringement of the law. Already the libraries of leading dissident religious bodies, we cite both Catholic and Anglican archbishops, have been confiscated and their possessors placed under bond. The coalition leader, himself a lay preacher known to possess a substantial cache of books, has a special act of clemency, but our Premier and by his direct intervention at police headquarters, been pardoned his acts of possession and allowed to remain in public office, subject of course to participation in the public burning of books. The opposition by this legislation forfeits all rights, and the due process of law shall be strictly carried out for the benefit of the community. Teachers found in possession are hereby deprived of certain benefits: superannuation, holiday entitlement, long service leave, at great saving to the electorate. They have another example of legislative clemency, not otherwise being prosecuted. Yet they are, for the present, needed to staff schools. However, a systematic police search of individual libraries and private holdings of books is being undertaken as a matter of urgency. The Premier assures his constituents that the matter of law and order will be upheld vigorously. He is acutely aware of his responsibilities. His police have the matter under control. All law-abiding citizens are assured they have nothing to fear. That sort of reminds me a bit of that act that the Albanese government's trying to introduce at the moment, where they want to like a misinformation bill and make social media censor people. Seems pretty wrong to me. In a place where, free speech is what really gives helps, robust democratic debate, really. All right, the next one's called Travel Dice. This book's hardly ever been read. By the University of Queensland Press. It's amazing what I find in some of these bookshops. 1987 this one was published. And this one's called Aeroplane. Boarding a plane, you play dice with travel. Though numbers are on your side and you sit strapped in, 40,000 feet, you are a prayer. However, you deny it. Through the window, those gleams could be stars, could be some implacable universe. And the next one, the title of the book, Travel Dice. Travel dice. Time spat a capsule of saliva. It was a plane shining in rare atmosphere. Now it has landed. The sun did not turn into salt. The moon did not drink it this time. Though you deny it, you are a prayer. Reassurance clothes you. Now you are home, to be stuck into place like a poster. Sobers you. It sobers me. Wow. Well, look, I hope you're enjoying this reading of some Thomas Shapcott poetry tonight. I've got 2 more books to go. But before I read on, why don't you give this video a thumbs up while you're just listening to me rabbiting on here, and like it, and even leave a comment. Tell me what's been your favourite poem so far. What have you liked tonight? I really like the Ode to Rhoda Joyner, the one about the censorship. Now, what have we got coming up? Well, look, on the 1st of October here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, we've got the Poets' Breakfast. That's a Sunday morning. It's part of the Trout Festival here in Joyner. And we've also got a youth poetry competition. And the entry forms are available on the website, australianpoetryhallofFame.com.au/downloads. So you can get the entry forms to that. And if you're a person between 18 and down to 6, yes, a young person, a youthful person. Yes, and we have a youth poetry competition, so check that out. At the moment, it's both written, there is a written one and a performance one, so if you can't make it to the Poets' Breakfast on the day, you will make it. You will be able to enter with your writing, and the written poetry for the youth poetry competition will be going into the Trout Festival Youth Poetry Anthology and published and available for publication. Yes. All right. Now, what else is happening? November, starting from November 12th through to November 19th, we've got Poets on the Mountain Festival at Joyner, featuring the Poetry Walkabout and the Australian Bush Poets Association New South Wales Bush Poetry Championship. Yes, that's right, you heard it, the New South Wales Bush Poetry Championship. There's a written section, there's a performance section. Entry forms can be found on the abpa.org website, the Australian Bush Poets Association.org, under events. They can also be downloaded from the Australian Bush Poets, the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame.com.au/events or /downloads, and you just follow the links and download the entry forms, and then you can post them in here and pay the entry fee. It's only, I think, $10 or $5 or something like that. It's really cheap to enter. And we are going to have the best poets. There are prizes, there are monetary prizes, and there are also trophies for the winners of the written and the performance sections. Yes, so that is the New South Wales Bush Poetry Championship. How exciting to have that coming here to Joyner, and a whole bunch of poets coming here up to Joyner. Look, I'm going to shut up now. No, I'm not, because I'm going to keep reading some Thomas Shapcott poetry. This is another one published by the University of Queensland Press, The City of Home, 1995, and I had chosen and originally to do a whole lot about Itchy Park, but I just might do one, Itchy Park. See, back in the day, lots of places had what we call Itchy Park, and there were parks where they're sort of like undesirably kind of people. It was a triangle of sloping ground with a dozen starved trees. We called it Itchy Park. There was a pole with iron chains and the ring you held to whirl. Like a Aeroplane, there was the splintery seat we'd use to jump from or get up into the brittle branches. These never led anywhere much. It was a scraggy, dull landmark, but it was on our way to school. It had bindi and every other needle grass. Driving up Denmark Hill, a visitor. Well, would you notice of Itchy Park? You'd speed uphill without a glance. I think I would as well, except that the swinging pole is gone. Heat from a sun-merged anger complicates the lost. Despite our denials, we're trapped by ownership, whose other name we guess. Well, that's it for Chillin' Tuesday. I'm Thundercloud. I'm out of here. Thank you very much for listening. And stay tuned tomorrow night for Wednesday Words. We'll be broadcasting from this place once again. I'll see you later.